Good Friday evening to you all. I'm Mike Naso here with the Tropical Video Update. The hurricane season of 2020 is raging on this Friday, September 11th, 2020. And to give you some example of how busy it's been with the number of named storms, this time last year we were waiting on the H storm, Umberto. This time we were waiting on the S storm, Sally. To give you some example of how we've blew through this name list, and it's been very active. We've had a lot of hurricane impacts, including here in America with Hurricane Hannah, Hurricane Isaias, and Hurricane Laura. Of course, we have a lot of features out there right now to talk about, so let's get right down to it. I'm going to go from left to right on the screen. On the left side of the screen, we have an area of disturbed weather in the Gulf of Mexico that is a low chance for development, but it could bring some rain to the Gulf Coast. Our second area is a brand new tropical depression, which is about 80 miles east-southeast of Miami, and that is forecast to be at least a strong tropical storm, if not a hurricane, for the Gulf Coast. We're going to focus on that mostly. Number 3, we have Paulette out there, which is expected to be a strong hurricane near Bermuda. We have Rene out here in the Atlantic, which looks awful and should remain out at sea. We have an invest area out here off Africa that could be a tropical storm or even a hurricane down the road, and yet again another wave over Africa expected to leave and possibly develop. So 6 areas of concern at the peak of hurricane season, September 10th, September 11th. It is exactly what you'd expect. Now here's the latest as of 5 p.m. Eastern Time on our Tropical Depression 19. It was at 25.4 north, 79.0 west, winds of 35. It's moving west-northwest at about 8 miles per hour, and that positions it about 80 miles east-southeast of MIA, and it is moving in that general direction. So the depression could become a tropical storm later tonight, and that's why we have a tropical storm watch from south of Jupiter Inlet to north of Ocean Reef, with the expectation that we could see tropical storm winds landfall somewhere around late night tonight, early on Saturday morning. Then by tomorrow afternoon, it should move out over the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico and develop. And it is forecast to strengthen right now to about 70 miles an hour, but it could well be higher than that, and it could be a hurricane before making landfall. Now, again, it depends with the angle of trajectory here. If it's on the right side of this cone, it's over water, very short, doesn't have time to strengthen, probably comes inland Sunday near Apalachicola. If it takes the left edge of this cone, it's over water much longer and could become a hurricane or a stronger hurricane and head towards the ravaged areas there of southwest Louisiana and eastern Texas. Right now, it looks like somewhere in the middle. If you live from Intercoastal City, Louisiana, on over to Pensacola, that little area in there, which ain't that little, is right now looking like the area where we'd see a landfall sometime Tuesday. But again, the timing and the exact location and intensity are all in the earliest stages, so you want to stay tuned to these updates, and we'll zero in on it as time goes by. Here's the visible satellite imagery. It's starting to get a little dark, but you can see the center of the depression is blowing up right here to the northwest of Andros Island, and the southeast coast of Florida obviously is right here. So look at these afternoon thunderstorms. This is all in advance of our tropical system. So if you live anywhere in the Florida Peninsula, get ready for a very hot, muggy, moist night. And of course, we're going to have the gusty winds blowing on through as our system moves to the west and strengthens. And it may strengthen. This is the wind shear, and you can see it's the blues and the dark colors here are very favorable. And so we're beginning to get a little bit of a jet there on the right side of the system, and as it moves into the Gulf, it should be in a pretty good upper-level environment. There is a chance wind shear increases by the middle of the week when the system gets near the coast, but, you know, that was what we thought with Laura, too. These models are real up in the air. So the bottom line is with the hot waters and the low wind shear, we could have a strengthening tropical storm or hurricane on our hands by Monday and Tuesday headed for the Gulf Coast. Here's the radar out of Miami, and you can see definite turning in here right off Andros Island. That spin is where the circulation is developing, so it's in its formative stages, but again, it could become a tropical storm as early as tonight. Obviously, the next name on the list is Sally. So if this does become a tropical storm or a hurricane, this will be named Sally, and it is expected to be. You can see landfall of this system in Florida. If the center's in here, moving west-northwest, I'm trying to remember my Florida geography. I've spent a lot of time down there. I believe this is Key Biscayne right in here, Key Largo, Miami, Homestead, Florida City. That area looks to be where landfall would occur. So maybe right over Miami. So be thankful that it might be a 40-mile-an-hour tropical storm and not a 140-mile-an-hour hurricane. But, of course, gusty winds and squally weather, obviously here off of areas of Marco Island, and this is Sanibel Island right in here. You guys have some thunderstorms headed for you as well. The computer models are just starting to really get a grasp on this system. They've been, for lack of a better word, sucky all year long. We don't know if it's because there's less airplanes flying. That's one of the myths, because of the virus and all that. I don't know. They've just been out of whack. I mean, the genesis of storms has been very poor. Usually we get some idea, hey, in a couple of days we'll have a storm. 2 days ago we had no idea there'd be a developing storm off Miami. Okay? There were some indications, but really not. You can see they take it over South Florida and then generally west-northwest towards Louisiana again. But again, if you guys are in Destin, Dauphin Island, Biloxi, you'll want to look over your hurricane plans. I don't think it'll be another Laura, but even a hurricane at this rate is nothing you want to mess around with. And of course, we want it to avoid the areas that are still without power. Our friends down there in southwest Louisiana, they really took a fierce pounding from nasty Laura, and they are going to be recovering for some time to come. Here's the infrared. Remember this old color scheme that they used to use on the Hurricane Center website? It's still out there. It's hard to find. Look at the lightning strikes. These little white dots here are lightning all over off the coast of Naples and southwest Cape Sable there in Florida, to say nothing where our system is organizing here near Andros. So again, the environment this time of year, it looks pretty good. I mean, I'm looking at the system. It's organizing. It's definitely better on the right side here, fanning out. It's a little flat, but once it gets under a better environment in the Gulf, we could really see it take off a little. So we're going to watch this very carefully. There's a risk of flash flooding, slight risk here in South Florida as the system moves on through, so rainfall is a threat with it, and we're going to watch that as well. I did want to mention, these are the messages. Number 1, heavy rainfall, isolated flash flooding over South Florida, and minor river flooding in the Tampa Bay area. Number 2, tropical storm conditions possible tonight in southeast Florida, where that watch is in effect. Number 3, the system is forecast to strengthen near hurricane strength as it moves across the Gulf of Mexico. Dangerous impacts, storm surge, wind, heavy rain possible from the Panhandle to southeast Louisiana, and residents in those areas should monitor the progress as storm surge, tropical storm, and even hurricane watches could be issued later tonight even. So again, keep an eye on this one. Paulette, 65 miles an hour, moving northwest, forecast to be near major hurricane strength by Monday. And that would be a Category 2, strengthening close to a 3. So if you're in Bermuda there, you guys got to keep an eye out. Right now, Paulette is expected to approach Bermuda as a hurricane the next couple of days and make its closest approach on Monday. And again, prolonged strong winds, surge, heavy rain on Bermuda beginning Sunday night is becoming more likely, and we'll probably see a hurricane watch out for that little island later tonight or Saturday. And number 2, swells are going to affect the Leeward Islands all the way to the Bahamas, Bermuda, and the southeast coast, because Paulette's going to be large as she nears Bermuda. So again, dealing with Paulette. Rene, I wanted to touch on, very weak, 40 miles an hour, no longer expected to be a hurricane. It should just dilly-daddle out here over the next couple of days in the Atlantic. When you take a look at the satellite, you can see there's Paulette there. There's pitiful Rene, where I put the X, just not looking good at all. And of course, this wave here is our invest. We're going to watch this as it moves towards the west. You can see the ensemble models want to take a lot of systems towards the islands, just a lot of spaghetti models all over the place as we have our systems. So again, very active in the tropics. with all our systems, our little feature in the Gulf is probably not going to do much, but we definitely have to watch our system here approaching Florida, as well as Paulette as it impacts Bermuda, and the 2 waves that are going to be off Africa developing as hurricane season 2020 rages on. I'm Mike Naso. Stay tuned for further updates